Thank you, Your Worship. First item are minutes of the Council and Committee meeting held on Monday, March 26th. The recommendation is that those minutes be approved.
Moved by Councillor Aspenson, second by Councillor Reamer. All in favour? Opposed? Carried unanimously.
Item 2, we have a delegation from Mr. Renato Spano regarding the bow and firearm discharge bylaw, and I'll just ask him to proceed to this podium, please.
Mr. Spano.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
If we could please put the map up. I'm not going to dwell too much on the map throughout the presentation, but if it would be a good tool for if there's any questions afterwards.
Sure.
Good afternoon, Your Worship, Mayor Stewart, and councillors. My name is Renato Spano, and I live on Corey Road in northeast Coquitlam with my wife and our 3 children. Our home is located directly in the area affected by the proposed bylaw. I have first-hand knowledge of the area in question and of the hunting regulations. I have familiarized myself with the report put forth by city staff and examined the 3 options. I attended last Monday's Council and Committee meeting to be more informed about the options and the status of Bylaw 4266. The Fraser Valley Special License Map, together with the BC hunting regulations, define the areas that are permissible for hunting in the Fraser Valley and the province of BC. To hunt within the Fraser Valley, you must first obtain a BC hunting license, which is only available to those who have successfully completed a hunter education course and received a BC hunter number. In addition, you must obtain a special Fraser Valley hunting permit, which you must show proof you have a minimum of $1 million liability insurance. Also, if you wish to hunt waterfowl, such as ducks and geese, the hunter must obtain a federal migratory bird permit, which is available at the post office. Furthermore, you must have a valid, federally issued PAL license, which enables an individual to possess and transport firearms. All these documents must be in a hunter's possession and presented to law enforcement officers upon request. The permitting requirements in itself weed out the individuals that are not committed to engage in the activity in a safe, responsible, and lawful way. At first glance, the maps and regulations can be confusing as to which areas are open for hunting and the direction of discharge that is permitted. I will start with Goose Island, as this area seemed to be the focus of attention. The discharge of shotguns with shot only is permitted on Goose Island. It is not permitted to shoot towards the Coquitlam shoreline. It is permitted to shoot upriver, downriver, and towards the Pitt Meadow shoreline. The rationale behind these rules is that a shotgun using birdshot will not reach the Pitt Meadow side. It will actually not reach the Coquitlam side as well, but that's a precautionary period. I got the impression that the area surrounding the Widgeon Marsh is also of concern. The Widgeon Marsh has been, is, and will always be closed to any form of hunting. The area is clearly shown as all being in the red shaded area and closed to hunting. However, there is a narrow strip of water between the center of the channel and the west shoreline which is not in red. This small portion is virtually unhuntable due to it being closed on one side and all open water on the other. The third area in question is the Addington Marsh. This area is open to hunting on the foreshore and waterward side only. The dikes are closed to any type of hunting. This is the only area I could see a passerby could see someone hunting. This occurrence, however, is highly unlikely due to the fact that the hunting seasons are primarily in the late fall and winter. In addition, all the areas in question are nowhere near any future development plans. Safety is on the top of everybody's list, and so it should be. I believe we all have the responsibility to protect one another and wildlife. One of the first and key rules a hunter learns is knowing what lies ahead and beyond their target. They are responsible for the shot from the time it is fired till the projectile comes to rest. To the best of my knowledge, this is a practice that has always been strictly followed. If not, police and city officials would be swarmed by a list of complaints from stray projectiles, and this is just not the case. What brought us to this point is a stupid and senseless act of somebody wounding a bear with a bow and arrow. This event, along with other incidents that occurred throughout our city over the last few years, have given the legitimate hunter a bad name. Let me make one thing perfectly clear. Those individuals are not hunters. They're poachers, They're criminals, and they should be dealt with as such by the proper authorities. It is wrong that the law-abiding legitimate hunter is sometimes painted with the same brush, but nothing could be further from the truth. The unfortunate reality is that no law can be passed to meet our objective, which is to stop this activity, as criminals do not follow the laws and rules. Hunters, real hunters, are first conservationists and stewards of the land. They are the eyes, and they spend many days afield and are their eyes and ears of law enforcement and bring these kind of violators to justice. My family and I are involved in the community and partake in many different types of outdoor activities, such as cycling, fishing, hiking, and canoeing. And yes, we also hunt. It is not just that we lose this opportunity due to a few isolated incidents caused by outlaws. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Councillor Asmundson has a question.
Thank you for appearing, Mr. Spano. I appreciate your comments and your concerns about the bylaw. Now, the types of shots that are being fired, and they won't reach the, you say, like somebody told me they go about maybe 40 yards, 50 yards, but is there different types of shots that will projectile further? Is there different grades of shot?
Oh, yes. In general, between the 30 and 40 yard is sort of the effective range for hunting, but the shot will carry further. I did give some photographs to city staff that I took this morning. I went in my boat and I photographed the Addington Marsh and Goose Island, and then I took an instrument, a rangefinder, a laser rangefinder, and I took a whole bunch of measurements, as I thought this may be useful in determining distances and sort of maybe paint a clearer picture. The more information, I think, the better.
Now, my question was that is there different types of shot that are more, that projectiles will go a greater distance?
There is, yeah. From the data that I gathered from a reloading manual was that a bird shot will travel 276 yards. That's shot at a 45-degree angle. Now, this is old data, so you'd have to get an expert to confirm this, but also that was a mathematical calculation. It doesn't take wind into account, and as well that was using lead shot, which has been banned for, well over 10 years. You can't use lead shot anymore. So the newer non-toxic shots that are permitted to be used don't carry as far because they're not as dense.
Okay. That's good. That's all for now. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor O'Neill.
Thank you very much, and something you said caught my attention. More information, the better. So I really do want to thank you for presenting the information that you brought today to Council, because looking back at the history of this and the long and convoluted history of this, it started with very little information, and we are gathering more and more information. As a matter of fact, Council was surprised from my recollection, when the bylaw came back, a bylaw that was originally designed to ban bow and arrow hunting, came back recommending a complete ban of hunting in Coquitlam. And Council were surprised and overwhelmed with the reaction about the news that the hunting actually takes place. Now, I take that actually as very, very interesting, that the fact that Council was so surprised about hunting on Goose Island. And I think it's interesting because that means that there's actually been no problems associated with the hunting on Goose Island. And earlier in my career here on Council, for a couple of weeks, I was fond of saying, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. I'm going to introduce a new expression to Council this afternoon.
Do you have any questions?
And it's, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I see the situation on Goose Island as not being broken. Things are working well there. And you provided evidence of that. You provided reasons why it would continue to work well. It ain't broke. There's no need to fix something that ain't broke. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And your question?
Oh.
He answered it. Thank you.
Okay, good. Okay. Councillor Robinson, bite the bullet.
I'm going to bite the bullet. I do have a question, and I do thank you very much for bringing lots of useful information forward. And I do have a question. There was some photos that were shown.
Yeah, we could perhaps bring those up.
And I think one of them, was Goose Island or Goose Bar.
It was. There's. I took 6 of Goose Island and 2 of Addington Marsh. So I took these this morning. I went out in my boat and went out there and took some photographs.
We'll go back to the first one, and if you could
so
describe
we
what they
could
are.
maybe just. Okay, so that's the first one. That picture there is I'm in my boat. I'm about 40 yards from the northern tip of Goose Island, and I'm looking towards the Coquitlam side. I'm looking west.
Okay.
The distance there from where I ranged it, it was 318 yards to Coquitlam and 491 to Pitt Meadows. That's to the closest shoreward side.
So we're looking at Coquitlam on the other side.
You're looking at Coquitlam on the other side. That is the southern tip of Burke. They're coming down, and then and just what you're seeing first there, that's Goose Island.
Okay, thank you. And are there any signs on Goose Island that say that this is a hunting ground, that there's hunting permitted here?
No, there is no signs on there. No, there isn't. It's known. There's
known by whom that there's hunting permitted here?
Well, the hunter is responsible for knowing that he's in a legal area to hunt.
And if you're not a hunter and you went to just explore, you wouldn't know that there was hunting permitted here necessarily.
No, there is no signage posted that I know of.
Great, thank you. Thank you very much.
Councillor Sikora.
Yeah, thank you very much. You bring some good points up. It's laughable how this thing come about.
Questions only, though.
Yeah, I realize that. I guess you're here because the bylaw is not working. Am I correct?
Yeah, I'm here because I thought that the more information that is presented is the better, and the bylaw that is proposed affects me directly because it affects where I live, because I live in the area, and it affects the activity that my family and I engage in. So that's why I'm here.
And I don't think that you're going to be the last one that's going to be appearing before this council. I'm sure of that.
I can't speak for other people. However, I did speak to my neighbors because I thought, well, I'm just one. There's 7 properties at the very end of Quarry Road, so I thought, well, I should get some input from them. And it was a challenge to contact them. Our phones were out for 3 days last week up there, and cell phones don't work there. But I did get a hold of 4 of them, and yeah, I had to wait until they were in town so their cell phone would work to get in touch with them. But I did get a hold of them, and the 4 that I did manage to get in touch with are all opposing this proposed bylaw.
Okay, thank you. What bothers me, Mayor, is the fact is that, every time something comes forward, even if it's the smallest thing comes forward to this city, it's like Elvis Presley used to say, I'm all shook up. You bring a bylaw forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm too young to remember him. Councillor Asmundson.
Just a question, Mr. Spano. How much hunting is done on Goose Island?
Oh, I wouldn't know that number. I don't know how many people hunt there. I couldn't tell.
It's not a lot of activity you see down there?
Generally, well, I live quite a bit, like about 6 kilometers upriver from Goose Island, so I can't see or regulate who hunts there, but there certainly is a number of people that do use it. I don't know how many. I know that for statistic information on wildlife, when I was single and had a lot more time, I used to submit reports to the federal government on migratory birds and send certain things like wing samples and things that they needed. But I haven't been able to do that when I got busy with life.
Yeah, life does change. Do you go over to Pitt Meadows and hunt? Is that a better hunting area for water?
I wouldn't say it's better or worse. There definitely is not nearly as accessible, and it doesn't offer the opportunity that Goose Island does. Goose Island is a unique place as far as that Pitt Meadows does not have that form. It is from the center of the channel, of course. It's in Goose Island is regulated by Coquitlam.
And I know this is the time of year, it's a lot less boat traffic, but there's also some shipping traffic, so there is no problems with the boat or the traffic's going up the river.
No, I didn't see a single boat today when I was out. I left my house at I left my boat in my house at about 8:30, and I was back home at around 10:30. And I didn't see a single boat on the river. Now, the only people that do use the river during the winter, as I can see going in front of my place, is, for instance, like Harkin Towing Wood or something like that, if they're pulling logs out of the lake or something. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor O'Neill.
Yes, a follow-up to Councillor Asmussen's question, actually, coincidentally. During a previous chapter in our discussion, one of my colleagues on council talked about the concern of kayakers and canoeists in the area. Now, given the fact that on Goose Island you have to shoot away from the Coquitlam shore, the only boat traffic that might be affected would be the ones between Goose Island, the traffic between Goose Island and in the middle of the channel, essentially, between Goose Island and Pitt Meadows. Have you ever seen, while you're hunting in that area, canoes or kayaks off the shore of Goose Island in the middle of the winter or late fall when hunting season takes place in that area?
No, I have not. That's not to say that somebody couldn't be there, but no, I have not, and it doesn't lend well at all to somebody kayaking or canoeing there. There's a lot of current, and it's very different than it would, say, for instance, being in the Widgeon Marsh, where you've got calmer, slower water. It doesn't lend well at all to that activity.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Robinson.
Thank you. I have one last question. And so you noted when the process for becoming a hunter and all the different criteria that's required, you noted that you need to have $1 million of liability insurance. What's that for?
Well, you don't need it to hunt in the province, but you do need it to hunt in the Fraser Valley, and of course this area in question being one of them. So what the government did is, because they under the Wildlife Act, they noticed that the hunting around the Fraser Valley, it is in closer proximity to other areas, so they brought out the special Fraser Valley hunting permit, which you must purchase. It's not expensive. It costs $10. But before they'll even sell it to you, you have to show proof that you have $1 million liability insurance.
For what purpose? What's the liability?
For any purpose. It could be that if you are in your boat and you run up on somebody and something happens in your boat, or any kind of incidents that could happen, they require you to have that insurance.
Well, I use a boat, but I don't have that insurance, so I'm not required to as a boat user.
Okay,
so
So
I'm trying to understand that clearly they want hunters to have $1 million of liability for some hunting-related purpose, I'm assuming.
For any occurrence that may happen, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Reamer.
Thank you very much for your presentation. There's been a lot of concern expressed to us about the dike and about the people that utilize the dike at all times of the year. You happened to mention in your presentation, you said Widgeon Marsh is not huntable, and then you also addressed Addington Marsh. So can you just re-clarify the fact that Widgeon Marsh, is that closest to the dike?
No, Widgeon Marsh is closest to Pitt Lake.
Okay.
It is on the most very northern boundary of this map, and actually of the GVRD. So it is, that area is all in the red section there. So
Right.
if you look as a reference, if we could use Quarry Road, and it goes to the end, then there's a sign there that says gate.
Right.
And then from there north, there's an island there called Siwash Island, and then that goes right north. On the very northeast tip there's a checkered mark area. That's an Indian reservation. They have their own rules that they abide to. And then the rest is all completely in red, which makes it all closed to hunting.
Right, okay. And you mentioned the dike. Can you reiterate what you said about the dike?
The dike, there is no dike there, but the dike around the Addington Marsh,
Right.
I went there this morning, and I took measurements at 6 different places along the Addington Marsh, from the water to the landward side. And the measurements that I got this morning with the scope, a rangefinder, were 416, 422, 338, 342, 277, and 299, which all exceed what the documentation that I found for that shot would travel.
That's great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now, you had started to go through the photos. Did we get through them?
I don't think so. I referenced to a few of them, but if we want to start at the top, we could just that is on Goose Island, north end, looking towards Coquitlam. That is the Addington Marsh, looking towards the dike. I'm just standing on the foreshore on the waterward side, looking towards the dike. That is on Goose Island, looking towards Pitt Meadows, about mid-island. That is, I don't know, I can't reference, I don't remember that one, but I'm sorry, I don't recall what that one was.
Okay.
I could. That is on Goose Island, looking south towards the Pitt River Bridge. The distance from there to the bridge is about approximately 4 kilometers. That is on Goose Island, looking towards the Coquitlam side, on the south end, and that is on Goose Island, on the south end, looking east towards Pitt Meadows. You'll see that there's a bar in the middle of the river, which also makes it treacherous for boating. You really have to know where you are on the river, or you'll run aground there. And that's back to the beginning.
Thank you. That's helpful. Seeing no other questions. Really appreciate your coming in to offer your information. It's really helpful. Thank you so much. Moved by Councillor Robinson, second by Councillor Reamer to adjourn. All in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously.